The morning sun glowed over the lunar horizon, casting pale light across Luna Dockyard. Thousands of people filled the tiered platforms around a broad launch pad. They wore uniforms of many nations and held banners that spoke of Earth's unity. All eyes were fixed on a giant shape hidden under a shimmering tarp. A quiet tension rippled through the crowd, like a held breath. Children perched on their parents' shoulders, eager to catch a glimpse of history. For the first time in centuries, Earth would reveal its pride. Admiral Reyes stood on a raised dais beside the covered hull. His silver uniform caught the light, and he straightened his posture before speaking. Today, he began, we unveil our finest creation. His voice was calm but full of purpose. He spoke of hope, of the power to protect, and of humanity's peaceful mission. The crowd listened in respectful silence, hearts full of expectation. Tears glimmered in many eyes as the moment drew near. With a slow hum, automated winches tugged back the shimmering tarp. A collective gasp rose from the onlookers. Before them lay the battleship Aurora, all sweeping curves and sharp lines. Its hull gleamed like polished metal under the dawning light. Fleet banners of Earth's nations draped its wide flanks, each flag a promise of unity. It rested on massive supports, as if poised to slip into the stars at any moment. For a long, heartbeat silence held them all in awe. Captain Mira Chen stepped forward in her crisp blue uniform. Her heart thundered as she climbed the gangway, each step echoing on the metal deck. She felt a mix of pride and fear swirl in her chest. Chosen for her calm courage, she carried the hopes of billions on her shoulders. Before boarding, she paused to look back at the crowd below. Faces of children, scientists, and soldiers shone with trust. With steady breaths, she crossed the threshold into Aurora's belly, inside. Bright corridors spread like arteries through the ship. Soft lights lined the walls, and consoles hummed with quiet power. Engineers in white overalls moved with practiced grace, checking gauges and monitors. Each panel glowed with data about engines, shields, and life support. Mira ran her fingers along a smooth railing, feeling the ship's solid strength. The air smelled of metal and hope. She knew that Aurora was more than a vessel. It was Earth's promise to the galaxy. On Earth, millions watched live feeds on giant screens. In New Tokyo, people gathered in rice fields turned into viewing halls. In Rio, families crowded into city plazas under glowing arches. Every viewer shared the same hush as the tarp fell away. They saw Aurora's lights blink awake like a giant eye. Some held hands in wonder. Others bowed their heads in respect. Distant worlds wondered if Earth had grown bold, or if it only sought to protect its own. Reporters spoke in calm, measured tones about Aurora's advanced technology. They noted its engines that could harvest solar wind for extra thrust. They praised the medical bay that could heal entire colonies. They highlighted the hololab meant for open research and shared knowledge. Yet one anchor dared to ask if such power might tempt Earth to conquer. The question hung in the broadcast like a dark cloud. Back on Luna, no one answered, only the ship's soft hum filled the air. In quiet homes, grandparents whispered of old wars and the fragile peace that followed. Young children dreamed of distant stars they might visit one day. Scientists felt proud of years spent in cramped labs and noisy workshops. Soldiers felt safer, knowing Aurora could shield Earth from harm. All understood that a new era was about to begin. Their hearts beat with a mix of hope and unease. Together, they trusted humanity to choose kindness over fear. On the launch pad, countdown lights glowed in sequence. 12, 11, 10 echoed through every speaker on Luna. Hearts raced as the final seconds ticked by. The engines hummed louder, filled with human resolve. Ahead lay the void, full of promise and unknowns. Captain Chen drew a deep breath on the command bridge and whispered, "Let's go home." Below, Luna Dockyard watched in perfect stillness. United by one shining moment, Aurora glided past Mars' orbit under a sky of endless stars. Captain Chen stood on the bridge and watched the red planet shrink behind them. Below, in the engine room, the soft hum of thrusters felt like a steady heartbeat. Each crew member leaned into their station, hearts full of hope and nerves. They had trained for this moment through years of drills. The pale glow of Mars lit their faces, reminding them why they sailed. Earth's people looked to them with trust, and that trust weighed heavy on every mind. They learned to turn fear into action. System trials began as Aurora left the safe corridors of known charts. Engineers tested the fusion reactors, pushing power levels past design limits to see how the ship would hold up. They adjusted coolant flows and watched glowing arcs dance inside containment fields. On the bridge, Lieutenant Singh monitored shield outputs and energy flow. Each shield segment flashed green, then yellow, as they probed its response to stress. Sensors scanned solar wind pockets and cosmic dust, sending data to the central brain. Captain Chen spoke calmly over the comms, guiding her teams with a steady voice. Pride rose in every chest as Aurora answered each challenge with quiet strength. Chief Engineer Lena Ortiz led the charge, her hands moving over touchscreens with practiced ease. She had grown up fixing machines on Earth's harshest worlds, where metal cracked in heat and froze in cold. Now she used that hard-won skill to keep Aurora alive. She checked coolant loops, thruster valves, and the navigation matrix in quick succession. Wires and circuits glowed under her gaze, responding to every tweak she made. Around her, technicians watched with respect. Ortiz smiled, pushing the ship harder and muttering an old Earth saying, "Adapt or perish." Here they would adapt. Without warning, alarms rang across the ship in sharp, urgent tones. Micrometeor particles streaked past the windows like fiery sparks. The hull rattled as tiny stones struck at high speed, sending soft thuds through every deck. Panic fluttered in some hearts at first, but orders cut through the fear. Shields to full, divert all power and brace. The hum of the engines turned fierce as protective fields flared rings of light. Crew members strapped into seats while consoles blinked warnings. The storm was stronger than simulations predicted, and each second felt like a trial of will. Ortiz and her team huddled around a cluster of consoles and engineering. Red alerts glowed on multiple displays. She studied shield harmonics and energy feedback, searching for a weakness. Singh relayed impact data from the bridge, his voice tight with concentration. Together, they sketched a new calibration, a profile on a hollow pad one that would shift power between segmented field generators in real time. Ortiz's fingers flew over controls as she uploaded the adjustment. Every eye in the room stayed on their screens, all trusting her to guide them through the danger. After tense minutes, Ortiz found a pattern in the data and smiled. She gave the command to implement the new shield algorithm. Across the hall, field generators hummed as power flowed differently. Outside the viewport, sparks of light flared where once rocks struck. One by one, impacts faded to harmless glances off the outer barrier. Engineers cheered quietly. Singh reported stable shield integrity. The hum of Aurora returned to its steady rhythm. In that moment, the crew saw the truth. Human minds could outthink even the wildness of space. A wave of relief swept through Aurora. In every corridor, crew members offered tired smiles and light laughter. Hands patted shoulders, and eyes glowed with shared triumph. Even through masks and helmets, they felt a bond stronger than steel. They had faced the void and made it bow to human will. Ortiz closed her console and stood tall, pride shining in her eyes. On the bridge, Captain Chen let out a slow breath and placed a hand over her heart. She looked around at her officers, at their calm faces and steady hands. Hope bloomed inside her. They were ready for whatever lay ahead. Aurora's trial in the void had proven Earth's spirit, that when danger came, humanity would rise together, clever and unbroken, into the stars. A gentle hush settled over Aurora after the storm. In the mess hall, warm lights glowed against polished tables. Crew members gathered around small trays of food and steaming cups of tea. The hum of engines felt distant here, replaced by soft voices and the clink of metal utensils. It was the first real moment of rest since leaving Mars orbit. For a while, no one spoke of shields or thrust vectors. Instead, they simply sat together, breathing the same recycled air and feeling oddly at home. Lieutenant Omar Singh cradled his cup, watching the pale steam curl upward. He had joined Aurora's first crew to prove himself. Back on Earth, he had been a brilliant cadet, but now doubt crept into his mind. What if he failed when it mattered? Most. His heart thudded as he looked at Chief Engineer Lena Ortiz across the table. Ortiz, with her calm smile and steady hands, had saved the ship only hours before. His pride fought with his fear, and he longed to speak the worry that weighed on him. Ortiz noticed Singh's quiet tension. She set down her fork and leaned closer. "You did well today," she said softly. Her voice was warm, like sunlight through a window. "Your shield's report was clear and precise. Without your data, I could not have found the new calibration." Singh's eyes widened. Why he had thought himself a bystander beside her brilliance. Ortiz reached out and placed a hand on his forearm, just enough to remind him he was not alone. "On Earth," she added, "we learned to turn every fear into fuel for innovation." He felt a spark of hope. Memories of his mother teaching him to fix radios in his small apartment came back in vivid color. He remembered the way she smiled when a broken circuit sprang to life. Ortiz squeezed his arm. "Every problem is a chance," she reminded him. "On Earth, we built skyscrapers and crossed deserts. We will find a way here, too." Singh nodded, letting the warmth of her words chase away his doubt. Around them, other pairs of eyes glowed with the same relief. Communication Officer Jiro sat nearby, tracing the outline of a small holophoto in his hands. It showed a dusty street market on his home world, a place full of bright fabrics and laughter. He spoke quietly to Navigator Solus, sharing the story of how he first tasted sweet fruit under an open sky. The memory made them both laugh softly. In that small moment, a stranger on another world felt close enough to touch. Bonds formed not through grand speeches, but through shared stories in the silence between stars. Anya Khan checked her medkit and then paused to lean against a bulkhead. She remembered nights studying anatomy by candlelight, dreaming of healing those who suffered. She told young Ensign Lee about her first patient, a sick child on Earth who clung to her finger for comfort. Lee's eyes shone with admiration. He had never met a child in need, but he felt her kindness as clearly as if he had. In return, Lee described the games he played as a boy, imagining alien creatures dancing in moonlight. Anya smiled, feeling that simple joy ripple through her. Back in the mess hall, Captain Chen entered with 2 steaming mugs and set one in front of Singh. She had watched the crew find solace in one another and felt pride swell in her chest. She took a quiet seat at the end of the long table, letting the chatter wash over her. Her own memories surfaced of her father's farm on Earth, where nights were filled with crickets and distant lights. She remembered how he taught her to navigate by stars and trust her instincts. Those lessons had led her here to Aurora's command bridge. Laughter and soft voices filled the hall. Chen raised her mug. "To us," she said, her words gentle but clear. "To Earth's spirit." The room fell silent for a heartbeat. Then glasses and cups rose in a chorus of agreement. "To our home," Ortiz added, her eyes meeting the captain's. Voices joined together in a warm, unhurried cheer. In that shared moment, all fear and fatigue melted away. They were not just officers and crews, they were family. When the last of the mugs were emptied and the mess hall grew quiet again, each person carried a gentle glow in their eyes. They returned to their stations with lighter steps and steadier hearts. In the hush before the next trial, Aurora felt less like a warship and more like a living vessel, powered by human hearts and shared dreams. Bonds forged in this simple silence would guide them through any darkness the void could cast. Aurora drifted through the violet haze of the Vega sector, its polished hull reflecting distant starlight. In the silent corridors, crew members watched, their instruments with careful eyes. Each sensor sweep brought new readings, radiation bursts, drifting asteroids, and now something unexpected. A small blip appeared on the long-range scanner. Lieutenant Omar Singh's hand trembled slightly as he traced the signal's signature. It was not a meteor or debris field, but an active engine signature. Another ship. Excitement and worry fluttered. through every heart. They were far from home, and first contact could mean either friendship or danger. On the bridge, Captain Myra Chen stood before the main view screen. Her calm face held both resolve and caution. "What is it, Lieutenant?" she asked softly. Singh's voice was steady as he replied, "Unidentified vessel, ma'am. Power level matches that of a standard scout ship, possibly from the Star Federation." A ripple of tension passed among the officers. The Star Federation was known for its vast network of colonies and strict patrol routes. No one knew if they would see this as a peaceful voyage or a threat. Captain Chen raised her hand in a gentle gesture. "Keep all channels open. No weapons. Let us show them who we are." Sensors flared as Aurora extended a cautious greeting. The scout ship appeared on the view screen. Sleek curves, pale blue lights, and a sharp angular profile.
That's Captain.
Must have seen Aurora as well. Moments later, their own shields lit up in a silent salute. Crew members held their breath. Ensign Lee's fingers hovered over the comm panel, ready to send or receive the first words. Every heartbeat echoed through the steel decks. This was the moment they had trained for, but training did little to still a racing heart. The scout drifted closer, engines glowing faintly against the nebula's mist. Captain Chen tapped her. Combadgen spoke clearly. "This is Captain Myra Chen of Earth's battleship Aurora. We come in peace and seek friendship." Her voice carried across the void, calm and firm. Then the silent bridge, eyes closed as if to bless her words. Below decks, engineers paused their work, listening for anything that might follow. The seconds stretched on like hours. Then, a response crackled through the speakers, in a voice both curious and guarded. "Aurora. We copy. Identify your purpose." A shiver of relief rippled through the crew. Their message had reached another world's ears. Humanity had spoken first. On Aurora's main holoscreen, the scout captain appeared as a pale blue silhouette. No face, but posture and tone spoke volumes. Captain Chen activated the hololink and allowed her form to materialize. She offered a small, respectful bow. "We are explorers and protectors," she said. "We have journeyed to understand and to share knowledge. Earth brings not conquest, but cooperation." She gestured to the ship's emblem, hands clasped around a shining globe. Behind her, the bridge crew stood at attention, unified in hope. In that moment, they showed the very best of humanity. Courage laced with kindness. A hush fell over the Vega sector as both ships weighed each other's intentions. Then, the scout captain nodded once. Engines brightened as the scout made a slow, graceful maneuver, no aggression, only careful study. It swept past Aurora's flank, giving a clear view of its shields and hull. Crew members pressed against viewports and holoscreens, marveling at how human craft compared to Federation design. A low cheer rose softly, admiration mixed with relief. The scout captain's voice returned, softer this time. "Aurora, you have our attention. We will relay your message to Council."
Apt.
"Proceed with caution, Captain Chen." Then the link faded. As the scout ship receded into the mist, Aurora's engines pulsed with renewed energy. Cheers and quiet applause filled the bridge. Captain Chen allowed herself a small smile. She tapped her badge again. "Well done all," she said. "You showed what Earth stands for." Lieutenant Singh exhaled in wonder. Ortiz clapped his shoulder. Even in the quiet corners of the ship, crew members whispered excitement. A cautious greeting had blossomed into mutual respect. In this vast galaxy, the first seeds of friendship were sown not by force, but by human warmth and honesty. Below decks, the mess hall buzzed with talk of the encounter. Jiro sketched a quick holo drawing of the two ships side by side. Engineering. Ortiz pinned a small Federation emblem next to Earth's flag on the holomap. Everywhere, hearts felt lighter. Aurora had sent the right message. In the silent swell of Vega's nebula, Earth's ambassador in steel had shown that true strength lay in extending a hand, not just in raising a shield. And so, humanity's story among the stars moved forward one cautious greeting at a time. Aurora cruised along the busy lanes of the Ophiuchi trade route, its hull gleaming against fields of drifting cargo vessels. Captain Chen reviewed incoming reports on her console as freighters of all sizes sent routine status checks. Route was known for commerce and peaceful travel, but also for hidden danger. Rumors spoke of a pirate ring led by a cunning captain named Voss, who targeted lone transports far from escort fleets. Chen felt a knot of concern tighten in her chest. She would not let Earth's symbol of peace become known as a rescue ship alone. She needed to show that humanity could protect the innocent. Lieutenant Singh was first to spot the telltale signs on long-range scanners. Clusters of small ships weaving through dense asteroid belts. Their heat signatures were faint but patterns. Emerged groups of 3 or 4 moving in tight formation, slipping in and out of sensor shadows. The bridge fell quiet as Singh called out the detection. "Ma'am, multiple unregistered vessels ahead. They match pirate profiles. Crew." Members exchanged glances. They had trained for combat scenarios, but not for actual fighting. Yet in the face of piracy, Aurora would not raise its weapons unless absolutely forced. Captain Chen made her decision. She tapped a red icon on the tactical display. "Tractor beam arrays, stand by," she ordered, voice calm but firm. Engineers, in the control room, smiled at the command. For them, tractor beams were tests of finesse. They could pin a small ship in place or guide it gently without harm. Lena Ortiz, overseeing beam calibration from engineering, adjusted power levels to create narrow but strong fields. Outside, long arcs of soft blue light would soon lash out like gentle vines across space. Moments later, Aurora's forward bays hummed with focused energy. In the darkness beyond the viewport, thin beams of light shot out and wrapped around the lead pirate vessel. Sparks of ionized particles danced where the beam met the hole. The pirate ship shuddered and came to a halt. Its thrusters cut off instantly. Behind it, 2 more ships tried to maneuver past, only to be caught by twin beams of their own. Panic flared on the bridge as alarms flashed from the trapped vessel's signatures. Yet Aurora never fired a shot. Captain Chen keyed the come. "This is Captain Mira Chen of the Battleship Aurora. You are in violation of peaceful trade routes. Surrender your vessels and lay down your arms." Her tone was firm, but not cruel. She spoke as one human to another, appealing to reason and compassion. Silence followed for a heartbeat. Then the lead pirate's voice crackled through, rough with surprise and anger. "You have the wrong idea, Earthling. We take what we need. Release us." Behind the scenes, Aurora's crew prepared for any outcome. Repair drones hovered near the tractor beam emitters in case a field needed reinforcement. Medical teams stood by in case pirates were injured. Communications officers recorded every word for diplomatic archives. Yet none of these measures meant Aurora would harm the pirates. Human strength lay not only in power, but in mercy. Before the pirate captain could speak again, Captain Chen replied, "I am giving you 1 minute to comply. Harm none, and we will let you go unharmed. Refuse, and we will escalate." The pirates. Harsh laughter echoed through the cum. He tried to cut the beam with a sudden boost from hidden thrusters, but the moment he tested strength against Aurora's hold, secondary beams locked him in tighter. Engines died. The screen flickered. As his crew realized they could not escape, in the silence that followed, something unexpected happened. Fear softened into resignation. Voss's voice returned, quieter now. "All right, Aurora, we'll talk." On the bridge, relief washed over the crew. No lives had been lost. No weapons had fired. Yet a strong message had been sent. Humanity's resolve was real. Shortly after, Aurora's shuttles descended from docking bays to board the pirate vessels. Crew members moved with respectful caution, offering medical checks and fresh water. Captain Chen joined the delegation and stood before Captain Voss in the dimly lit cargo hold. She looked him in the eye and said, "You have a choice. Continue this path and face greater forces, or work with us to secure these routes together." Voss, bruised in pride, but unhurt in body, nodded slowly. "I understand," he admitted. Back on Aurora, the pirate ships were escorted to the nearest arbitration station. Her crews faced trial under interstellar law. Aurora's crew watched as secured convoys continued along the route, their engines bright with hope. In the mess hall, Lena Ortiz raised a cup of tea. "We did it," she said softly. Lieutenant Singh smiled and replied without firing up. Single shot. The room filled with warm applause. They had proven that real power lay in restraint and ingenuity, as Aurora resumed its course. Captain Chen stood at the viewport and watched the freed freighters sail away. Each ship's bright trail was a testament to human compassion writ large across space. In that moment, she knew the galaxy would remember Earth not as a conqueror, but as a guardian of hope, one who could bend danger with kindness and forge safety from the void. Asterisk. Aurora coasted through silent space as a small diplomatic shuttle approached her hull. Captain Chen watched from the bridge, heart steady with purpose. Inside the shuttle, 3 envoys from distant worlds sat in soft seats, nerves flickering like candle flames. Each wore the formal robes of their home planet, colors bright against the shuttle's pale interior. They had heard stories of Earth's great battleships, some curious, some curious. Now they would see it with their own eyes. The shuttle docked, with a gentle bump, and hatch lights glowed green. Ambassador Alina Roth stepped off first, greeting the envoys with a calm bow. She wore a simple white gown that mirrored Earth's flag, a symbol of openness. "Welcome aboard, Aurora," she said in a clear voice. "You will see that Earth values life above all." The envoys stepped into the corridor, faces wide with wonder as they gazed at polished steel walls and softly glowing panels. First, Roth led them to the engine core. Here, massive coils of copper and crystal pulsed with steady light. Chief Engineer Ortiz stood beside the main reactor, arms crossed in pride. "Our engines draw power from the solar wind," Ortiz explained, her voice rich with excitement. "We harness stray particles to boost thrust and lower fuel use." One envoy, a tall figure with violet skin, placed a slender hand on the glass. "Shield." The hum beneath their fingertips felt alive. Eyes gleaming, the envoy whispered, "On my world, we burn rare ores. This is harmony." Ortiz's pride swelled at the envoy's soft praise. Next, they toured the medbay, a room of calm white light and gentle beeps. Medical technician Anya Khan guided them past rows of healing pods and holosurgery tables. "We can treat wounds from distant worlds," she said, voice gentle like falling snow. One envoy, known for medicine on the council, knelt beside a pod. "Your technology, it cures without cutting. It listens to the body's voice." Khan smiled and placed a small data crystal in the envoy's hand. "Shared knowledge," she said, "for all who suffer." The envoy's eyes shone with tears of gratitude in the hololab. Ambassador Roth invited them to view Earth's great research projects. Holographic models of floating farms, water filters, and air purifiers danced in midair. A young scientist explained how Earth had turned deserts green and revived dying reefs. One envoy, a scholar from a water world, reached out to touch a model of a sea garden. "Your people mended oceans," they said, voice full of wonder. "You bring hope where there was none." Roth felt a warm glow spread through her chest. These whispers of praise were the seeds of true friendship. While tours went on, back on distant homeworlds, debates ignited. In high chambers and public squares, voices rose in wonder and fear. "Can we trust Earth?" some asked. They wheeled. "Great power," others answered. "They heal more than they harm. They share more than they take." Across star lanes and data streams, news of Aurora's kindness spread like wildfire. Earth's people watched news feeds with hopeful hearts. They cheered as envoys spoke words of wonder. In classrooms and living rooms, children drew pictures of the battleship that brought not war, but help. On Aurora's bridge, Lieutenant Singh monitored diplomatic channels. Each message from the envoys carried hope. They spoke of joint missions to revive dying planets and share medicine. They asked for Earth's help to build clean power plants on their worlds. Singh smiled as he read the requests. Aurora had shown strength through compassion. And now the galaxy whispered of unity. That evening, Aurora's crew gathered for a quiet ceremony in the observation dome. The curved glass framed a field of stars, each one a distant sun. Captain Chen stood before her officers and guests from across worlds. She spoke of Earth's promise. We carry weapons, yes, but we carry hope stronger than any cannon. Let our deeds speak for us. Voices around her echoed with agreement. In that silent dome, differences melted away. Hearts beat together under the watchful light of distant stars. As the shuttle-bearing envoys departed, Aurora's engines glowed softly. Ambassador Roth watched until the shuttle's lights faded. She turned to Captain Chen with a gentle smile. They will speak well of us, she said. On their worlds, we have planted seeds of trust. Chen nodded, thinking of every hand laid on Aurora's halls, every tear of wonder she had seen. She felt the weight of responsibility. Earth must live up to these hopes. In the quiet that followed, the battleship sailed on, her mission clear. No shots fired, no shields raised against envoys, only hands extended and hearts opened. Aurora carried whispers. Aurora glided toward the Celestial Council's capital station, its engines leaving soft trails in the velvet dark. Through the main viewport, crew members watched the massive ring of habitats and spires grow larger by the hour. Captain Chen stood at the rail of the observation deck, her uniform crisp and eyes bright with purpose. All around her, the bridge hummed with focused energy. Each person felt the weight of this moment and the promise it held. Below decks, technicians ran final diagnostic sweeps of Aurora's systems. Chief Engineer Ortiz paced in engineering, checking power distribution and life support readings. She knew the station's authority lay not in weapons, but in symbols of unity, and Aurora was now Earth's finest symbol. She paused at a viewport to watch the station's lights flicker. Through the nebula clouds, in that soft glow, she felt both pride and a quiet tremor of hope. On Earth, millions gathered in city squares and living rooms alike. Giant screens relayed every angle of Aurora's approach. In New Delhi, children clutched painted cardboard models of the ship, their faces lit by excitement. In Paris, families sipped tea around widescreen displays, tears in their eyes as the battleship swept past lunar orbit and entered council space. News anchors spoke in hushed tones, calling it history in motion. Across continents, people held their breath together. Back on Aurora, Captain Chen gathered her senior officers on the bridge. Lieutenant Singh studied the navigation charts, his fingers steady despite a racing heart. Communications Officer Jiro monitored incoming transmissions from council dignitaries. Each message carried polite curiosity and cautious welcome. Ambassador Roth practiced her opening remarks in a soft corner nearby, her voice calm but charged with warmth. Together, they formed a circle of shared resolve. Earth would show its best face today. The moment Orion's belt passed beyond the station's outer ring, Aurora began its flypast. Engines glowed amber as the ship shifted into a graceful arc. Outside the viewport, the station's lights traced along Aurora's hull like stars greeting a friend. Crew members lined the corridors at each viewing port, pressing hands against cool glass to feel the pulse of this grand dance. No alarms rang, no weapons fired. Only the quiet roar of powerful engines and collective wonder. As Aurora completed its first pass, greetings crackled through the cum. Council flag silver, gold, and deep purple flew from every spire. A choir of chimes sounded from the station's outdoor decks, welcoming Earth's envoy. Captain Chen tapped her badge and issued a heartfelt salute. On behalf of all Earth, she said, we come in friendship and in hope, her voice echoed. Through cabins and stations alike, the bridge broke into warm applause, tears glinting in many eyes. Council authorities extended a docking invitation with formal elegance. Slender shuttle curved beside Aurora, guiding her into place. In the docking bay, representatives from dozens of worlds waited in ceremonial robes. Ambassador Roth stood at the airlock ready to meet them. Her heart fluttered as the hatch sealed with a gentle hiss. She remembered childhood lessons of kindness and respect, and she felt their power in each breath. Today, those lessons would shape the galaxy's future. Crew members filed past the airlock to stand behind Roth in neat rows. Captain Chen led the way, shoulders back and chin raised. As they stepped onto the station's polished floors, lights from foreign suns danced on their uniforms. Delegates greeted them with bows and soft words in many tongues. Each handshake felt like a promise, a pledge to build together, not to break. The air itself seemed to hum with shared possibility. On Earth, celebrations erupted. Fireworks bloomed across skies in remote deserts and bustling metropolises alike. Streets filled with singing and laughter. In classrooms, teachers paused lessons to speak of unity and trust. Elders told stories of past wars and the fragile peace that followed. Now, they said, was a chance to reach higher, to prove that humanity's greatest battles were won with hope, not weapons. As Aurora's crew looked out from the station's grand balcony, they saw stars wheel overhead and worlds stretch beyond sight. Captain Chen stood beside Chief Engineer Ortiz and Lieutenant Singh, all three sharing a moment of quiet triumph. In the soft glow of distant suns, they felt Earth's heartbeat echo through their own. The grand approach had succeeded. Fear had given way to wonder, suspicion to welcome. And as they gazed into the endless night, they knew this was only the beginning of a brighter era. The council chambers spread before them like a hushed cathedral in space. Tall columns of gleaming metal rose to an arched ceiling of shifting starlight. Delegates from dozens of worlds filled curved rows of seats, their colorful robes a tapestry of alien design. Captain Chen, Ambassador Roth, and their small Earth delegation entered through wide doors, every eye turned toward them. A hush fell, as if the galaxy itself waited for Earth's first words. Ambassador Roth stepped forward onto a raised dais. Her simple white gown contrasted with the vivid hues. Around her, she took a steady breath and spoke in the council's common tongue. "Esteemed delegates," she began, voice clear and warm, "Earth comes to join you in peace. We seek friendship, shared wisdom, and a promise that no world stands alone." Her words echoed under the vaulted ceiling, carrying hope through every corner of the hall. A murmur rippled through the delegates. Some faces glowed with curiosity, others showed doubt. In the front row, a silver-skinned envoy tilted their head, studying Roth's earnest gaze. In the back, a tall delegate in deep purple robes tapped a finger on the armrest, weighing every word. Ambassador Roth offered a subtle nod to invite questions, ready to listen as much as to speak. Diplomacy lived in gentle silence and honest hearts. First question came from a small, bird-like delegate whose voice quivered like a soft wind. "Earth's battleship wields power unseen," they said. "How can we trust it will not turn against us?" The chamber held its breath. Ambassador Roth met the delegate's gaze and replied, "Power is a tool. On Earth we learned that strength without mercy builds only fear. Aurora's true weapon is compassion. We will share our medicines, our clean energy, and our love of life. Judge us by our deeds, not our armaments." Soft applause rose from nearby seats, like waves on a quiet shore. Encouraged, another delegate spoke, this one from a desert world where water was precious. "Your medbay can heal whole colonies," they said. "Will you give this gift freely, even to strangers?" Ambassador Roth smiled. "Yes," she said. "No life is too small, no world too distant. Earth's heart beats for every living." Being Captain Chen watched from the side, pride and relief mingling in her chest. She remembered the night she chose this mission, driven by her father's stories of kindness. Now, in this grand hall, humanity's promise took shape. She saw hope bloom in alien eyes. She felt the weight of every life watching, trusting that Earth would live up to its word. A representative from the Council's Security Division stood next. Their voice was firm, but not unkind. "We must ensure peace," they said. "Can Aurora help protect us against threats without starting new wars?" Captain Chen stepped forward and spoke, voice steady as steel. "Aurora defends, never strikes first. We will work with the Council to share our shield technology and to train joint patrols. Together, we can guard peace without firing a shot." In the chamber's golden light, heads nodded. A quiet consensus formed. Earth's presence might strengthen the galaxy's safety. Ambassador Roth unfolded a holomap, showing joint research stations and medical outposts on dying worlds. Delegates leaned in, eyes shining with possibility. They saw not just a battleship, but a beacon of hope. As the session closed, the council's leader, a tall, graceful figure robed in silver, rose. Their voice was soft, yet carried across the hall. "Earth," they said, "you have shown us a new way forward. Accept your offer of peace and fellowship. May this day mark the beginning of a lasting alliance." A swell of applause filled the chamber, rising to the arched ceiling and echoing like a hymn. Outside, Aurora's crew watched the live feed on station monitors. Engineers paused their work, medics closed clinic doors, and cadets stood at attention in corridors. Hearts swelled with pride as they saw the council's acceptance. Tears glimmered in many eyes. In that moment, humanity's best qualities, hope, compassion, and courage, shone brighter than any weapon. As the delegation left the council chambers, Ambassador Roth turned to Captain Chen. "We did it," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. Chen nodded, feeling warmth spread through her. "This is our home among the stars," she replied. Together, they walked toward the airlock, Earth's promise fulfilled and a new chapter just beginning. Aurora floated quietly in orbit around the capital station when alarms rang out across every deck. Red lights pulsed in hallways, and monitors blinked urgent warnings. Suddenly, the station's power cut, plunging corridors into darkness. Crew members felt the ship shudder as automated systems went offline. In the bridge's dim emergency glow, Captain Chen grasped the rail. Her heart pounded not in fear, but with resolve. Somewhere on the station, a rogue faction had seized defense satellites to black out power. Now it was up to Aurora to protect the peace she had fought so hard to build. On the bridge, Lieutenant Singh raced to the tactical console. His fingers flew over the controls as he brought satellite feeds back online one by one. "They're blocking our uplink," he reported, voice tight with concentration. Sensors showed the satellite's orbital paths shifting, forming a dark curtain around the station. Communications officer Jiro struggled to send distress calls, but his console crackled with static. Without hesitation, Captain Chen made her decision. "Prepare the electromagnetic pulse," she ordered. "Just enough to reset the satellites, no more." Below decks in engineering, Chief Engineer Ortiz stood at the pulse generator, her jaw set. She coordinated with her team to calibrate. The burst, powerful enough to override the rogue command signals, yet gentle enough to avoid harming delicate station systems. Each setting was critical. If she overpowered the satellites, she risked damaging station life support. If she underestimated them, the blackout would deepen. Ortiz took a slow breath and initiated the sequence. An electric hum swelled through Aurora, like a heartbeat growing louder. Moments later, a soft pulse rippled outward from Aurora, invisible but potent. Across the void, the hijacked satellites flickered as their circuits reset. On station screens, lights blinked back to life. Emergency illumination brightened hallways, and city lights glowed in the distance. Power restored, sirens fell silent. Crew members let out collective sighs of relief. Across every deck, Aurora systems hummed with renewed strength. They had protected not only their ship, but the wider community they had come to defend. "Captain?" Chen watched monitors showing station corridors filling with light again. She felt a swell of pride, not for the weapon she used, but for the careful restraint and precision chosen. "We restored peace without a single casualty," she said softly. Lieutenant Singh offered a tired smile. "They won't forget that," he replied. In the hush that followed, crew members exchanged quiet applause. They understood the true meaning of strength, acting with power, yet choosing mercy. On the station, delegates and civilians poured into streets beneath glowing spires. Children who had watched Aurora's fly past now danced among fountains, reactivated by the restored energy. In a grand plaza, Ambassador Roth greeted council guards returning to duty. Tears of gratitude shone in many eyes as people thanked her. "And the crew?" "You saved us," one elderly delegate whispered. Roth pressed her hand to her heart and replied, Aurora's promise endures. We protect life above all. That evening, Aurora's observation deck filled with crew and station guests alike. Through the great windows they watched distant stars shimmer. Captain Chen stood among them, quiet in satisfaction. Ortiz leaned on the rail beside her, still feeling the echo of the energy pulse. Singh joined them, placing a steady hand on the captain's shoulder. No words were needed, their shared accomplishment spoke volumes. Under silent starlight, they celebrated not with weapons, but with unity and gratitude. In the days that followed, the Council passed a decree to incorporate Aurora into a new joint defense network. Satellites once hijacked were repurposed for shared monitoring and early warning symbols of trust forged from crisis. Aurora's crew trained station personnel in precise electromagnetic safeguards, ensuring no power could be turned against. The people again. Everywhere they went, the battered satellites stood shining, reminders that guardianship need not bring destruction, as Aurora prepared to resume her voyage. Captain Chen took one last look at the station's lights twinkling. Below, she remembered every moment, the fear and the darkness, the careful calculation of her crew, the triumphant return of life-giving power. In her chest, a steady joy shone brighter than any engine flare. Humanity's true strength was not in victory by force, but in safeguarding hope. And so, Aurora sailed once more into the stars, always ready to be the silent guardian when darkness threatened to fall. Asterisk. Aurora's engines hummed with quiet pride as she glided away from the Celestial Council's station, her polished hull. Catching the soft glow of distant suns, Captain Chen stood on the observation deck, her uniform crisp and eyes bright with purpose. Around her, the crew gathered in small groups, some speaking in hushed tones of the Council's reception, others simply gazing at the endless stars. A gentle excitement filled every heart. They had come as strangers, but they now left as partners in a galactic family. In that moment, Earth's battleship felt less like a weapon and more like a bridge spanning the void between worlds. Below, Deck's chief engineer Ortiz checked the reactor's status one last time before relaxing her shoulders. Remembered the trials in the void, the micrometeor storm, and the tense calculations of the pulse. Each challenge had tested human ingenuity and restraint, and each time the crew had risen together, Ortiz allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had proven that true strength was measured not by the force one could wield, but by the compassion one chose to show. As she walked through the engine room, her footsteps echoed softly against the steel, a quiet reminder of the journey. They had shared. Lieutenant Singh stood at a viewport, watching a convoy of council shuttles depart under Aurora's escort. Children waved from open doors, their laughter drifting across the void like music. Singh thought of his own family back. On Earth, his mother, his sister waiting under the same sky. He placed a hand on the glass, feeling a swell of hope. This mission was more than a voyage. It was a promise kept. He turned to Jiro, the communications officer, who was logging final messages of gratitude into the ship's archive. We did it, Singh said softly. Jiro nodded, eyes shining. Showed them who Earth really is. In the mess hall, Ambassador Roth raised a cup of steaming tea to toast the crew. To Aurora, she said, voice clear and filled with warmth. May she always sail with unity in her engines and kindness in her heart. Crew members echoed the toast with gentle clinks of mugs. They felt the weight of history lifting from their shoulders, replaced by a new burden of trust. On Earth, millions watched live streams and celebrated in city squares and village courtyards alike. Fireworks illuminated the night sky as music and dance took over the streets. Across continents, people joined hands, marveling that humanity had stepped onto a broader stage, not with conquest, but with an open hand. Captain Chen rejoined the gathering and stood beside Ortiz and Singh. She looked at each face in the room, officers and technicians alike, and felt gratitude for their steadfast courage. You carried Earth's name with honor, she said. You faced fear with calm resolve and danger with compassion. The galaxy now knows that when humanity's battleship arrives, it brings hope, not horror. The room fell silent as her words settled into every heart. Then applause rose, warm and full. Like waves of light breaking across a dark sea, as Aurora charted a course back toward the inner systems. The crew prepared for refit and rest, yet none felt weary instead. They buzzed with anticipation for the next mission: joint research expeditions, medical relief journeys, and shared patrols among star lanes. In every department, plans formed quickly, filled with dreams of clean energy stations on dying worlds and healing medical outposts for distant colonies. They would carry Earth's gifts across the galaxy, one world at a time, forging bonds of friendship that no darkness could sever. On the bridge, Captain Chen studied the star map before her. Countless points of light marked potential allies and partners. She pressed a command to log their mission report and added a final note: "Let humanity's story be one of unity and compassion. May Aurora's voyage inspire every soul to look beyond fear and build together." She leaned back, hands folded, and let herself feel the wonder of it all. The silence of space felt welcoming, filled with promise rather than threat, as the battleship's corridors filled with soft life and hopeful chatter. Aurora slipped among the stars like a living emblem of a new era. Earth's flag still flew proudly on her flanks, but now it meant more than pride. It meant responsibility, friendship, and the promise of shared futures. And as she sailed into the unknown, every heartbeat aboard her carried the simple truth that had guided humanity from the start: that true power lay not in the might to destroy, but in the will to protect and to care. In that shining moment, a new chapter of galactic history began, and Aurora led the way.